Right, straight into the action, ladies and gentlemen, with Ninja and Hysteria going against King Richard, AimBotCalvin for our losers quarter round. Let's see who is in fact going to take this. This is by far going to be a true test for King Richard and AimBotCalvin. We'll see if they can come out ahead, and it looks like they are going to be hitting up yonder way, or that soccer field.
Fields, yeah.
Yeah, that soccer field. Let's see how it's going to work out for them. Where's Ninja and Hysteria at?
They're at triple-decker houses, which is an interesting drop in my opinion. So they're actually going to drop the crater site near the supervillain layer over towards the Snobby Shore side of the map. Not something I think I've seen before watching Friday Fortnite, but it's a pretty underrated drop. You're really, really close to Pleasant Park and can easily flank that. So very similar to dropping over by a hotel where they dropped earlier on today.
Yeah, definitely so. As you know, King Richard and AimBotCalvin kind of taking over that spot where Avery and Noah J used to go quite often. This was their spot. They'd go Shifty or they'd go over to here. And it's a good spot because it kind of emulates what Shifty does. You can push from here over to Tilted quite easily. You can also, go to Greasy, I do believe, as well. From this position, you can hit up Shifty too. So there's a lot of different routes you can take depending on maybe where the circle collapses, depending on or where you have your game plan ahead of time.
And I would say, at least as far as regular drops are considered, I'm not sure if we see King Richard and AimBotCalvin kind of counter that play by going towards Soccer Field, which happens to be a little bit kind of toward the eastern side of that. Because in this play, if you're King or if you're in Ninja Squad and whatnot, you either push Tilted fast or you go toward Pleasant Park. So Pleasant Park is obviously a decent kind of venture, but regarding overall play, I think, at least as far as early eliminations, I think King Richard and AimBotCalvin have the advantage. If you look at Tilted, if you look at Shifty, Greasy Grove, they kind of have that to their favor. But we'll see what happens, right? Early engagements can happen. We talked about different landing spots can equal to different strategies. It happens over time, but it looks like eliminations are at least coming through early from AimBotCalvin and King Richard, as at least one kill was found. Of course, don't have AimBotCalvin stream, unfortunately, not as of yet. So for those who have been asking in the chat, not exactly sure as to why, but still trying to advance forward. Shout out to production for trying to get these scoreboards up to date and whatnot. So at least one kill on the board for that team.
Yeah, rightly so. And I want to point out something to you, Fallout. You notice they went Snobby like you were telling me, or at least just on the outside of Snobby. Now they're inside the bat layer, which, by the way, shout out to Epic. This is one of the coolest additions to their map, which I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to progress as the map kind of develops, right? But look at the circle. The circle's actually within, or at least they're within the circle, even this far out. So that is a big break on their part.
And it's such an interesting play from Ninja and Hysteria is to drop triple deckers. They're going all the way super villain layer, and now really they've just been farming and looting up, and finally they're going to enter their first fight over at Snobby Shores. I'm surprised this fight is still going on, and they're going to hope to pick up at least 3 or 4 kills here as they eliminate the Snobby Shores victorious squad.
So are you guys surprised they go Snobby over Pleasant or Snobby over anything else?
100%. Where do you go from here?
Yeah,
well, that's why I was curious. I was like, maybe there's a play call that I'm just not familiar with, or what? I mean, Snobby, at least based off the original jump, maybe more popular than usual. But I mean, for the most part, I think you go Pleasant, at least as far as debating on what their mindset is, right, coming into this game, if they want to kind of be long-lasting or whatever play style they have coming into this match. But I think going towards Snobby Shores which is the opposite direction of Pleasant Park, is just kind of an oddity.
Yeah, because the best rotation after this is to go Soccer Fields, which was already eluded by the other team. So it really, completely agree. Now, guess what? Who's going Pleasant? It's going to be King Richard and AimBotCalvin. They'll be able to pick up the Pleasant kills, and they're going to be ahead of these individuals for at least for the entire game. If they can keep up the pace here, they'll always be one step ahead in terms of distance. So I really like the play and the counter that comes in from KR and AimBotCalvin.
Well, I'm kind of curious if Ninja and Hysteria maybe thought King Rich and AimBotCalvin they typically go to these high contested areas, Tilted, Salty. We've seen them drop in crazy places, and sometimes they do get dropped early, and I'm kind of curious to know if maybe that's why they did what they did. They went over trying to, pick up some kills, stay out kind of in the boonies at this point, and then kind of move their way in and maybe bank on the fact King Rich and AimBotCalvin would go down. But unfortunately for Ninja and Hysteria, if that was their strategy, I don't know exactly for sure, but if that was their strategy, King Rich and AimBotCalvin, as we saw, right, they pushed over into the soccer field area, which means obviously there's not a lot of engagements there. Now in Pleasant, which is now where Ninja and Hysteria look like they're moving to, they're already in engagements, they're already picking up the kills Ninja and Hysteria would want to pick up. So at this point, a lot of legwork still needs to be done through Ninja and Hysteria.
Yeah. And that decision to go to Snobby Shores, whether it is probable or not, that's 3 kills that they lose in that situation where they could have gone Pleasant. Maybe even if they make the decision to go before King Richard and AimBotCalvin, because they had that was their one favorable spot. We talked about whenever you're in King Richard and AimBotCalvin's position, they have the advantage every place except for Pleasant Park, and that's the one place they go to. I got to say, at least off of initial strats, I love what we're seeing from AimBotCalvin and King Richard. I think they've pulled out a great playbook, at least off the start, kind of eliminating the ability for Ninja and Hysteria to really kind of pull out something crazy, to kind of hold on to what advantage kind of going toward that area that they went to off the break did. And I said it's obviously given them somewhat of an advantage right now.
But at the end of the day, I think we all agree it was the right play from King Richard and AimBotCalvin, but they are far but out. I think in Ninja's first game, we saw them drop Hotel at late rotation to Pleasant Park, and we were a little bit critical of that. They ended up dropping, I think, an extra kill or two over their opponents in game number 1. I think that was against Myth and Hamlins. They ended up winning that game. So too soon to of course, count them out. They play for late game and mid game very, very often. Ninja and Hysteria like that mid to late game, and we'll see what happens here as they're now right next to King Richard and AimBotCalvin in this fight.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how many kills we're going to see stolen from each team especially. But, the thing is, we could see a late game here due to the fact that they're sticking so close together. Obviously, they're playing against each other, but they still provide protection for each other in certain ways. We've seen a teammate go down and then the other team push in and try and get the kills, and they do get the kills and end up saving the life of their opponent unintentionally. But it's kind of one of those things. You just got to go with it and just try and pick up as many kills as you possibly can, because that's what counts at the end of the day. But pushing forward now to Tilted is in fact going to be Ninja leading the way along with Hysteria following behind, but King Richard as well following with the AimBotCalvin. We're both going into Tilted, and Ninja's going to be lucky. He's going to find the first engagement, trying to kill this player, and unfortunately missing just a little bit, but luckily able to lock in the shots, taking him out, and that's going to put him at 2 total kills, 3 on the left, 2 on the right with King Richard. AimBotCalvin, of course, has some in his back pocket. Very hot, contested game, and we have a fight here as King Richard is, in fact, going to get his kill stolen by Ninja.
Yep. I think they both took
one.
Calvin was able to get one as well. Now Ninja getting some good shots into someone. Bottom brick apartments right here. He's going to be pushing up and aggressing forward. And now it's going to be a matter of who can get the last shot in these fights, as Ninja with a great headshot. But that default skin is going to get Ninja so weak. 15 HP for Ninja. He has a Chug Jug, though, so as long as he can stay alive and survive, Ninja is going to do it with 15 HP, outplays and outperforms that Omega, and how he's rewarded with a Chug Jug and some loot. Great job by Ninja right there.
Yeah, definitely taking out that Omega. I like it. Going down now. He's going to come in with the Chug Jug, try to get the health, try to get the shield. And, man, you got to talk about juking. Ninja, I don't know if he's a good basketball player, but if he was, he'd be juking me on the court with those kind of plays. I don't know if that worked, but we're going with
I think anybody could.
That was – okay, well.
You messed with me a little bit earlier. We're going to fire back a little bit.
We're going to find out during the company basketball game. That's all I got to say.
I think we're on the same team.
But that's the way it should be. So, but anyway.
You got to separate the two talent. There was not even a question.
It's true.
What's going on? Who is making these decisions? HR, where are you?
Oh, yeah, HR.
Definitely watching right now, I'm sure.
6 kills on the left for Ninja and Hysteria, and a comeback, though, for King Rich AimBotCalvin, looking to make it a close game indeed. As now it looks like they are done with Tilted. They might be pushing out at this point. No more engagements are going to be remaining. 21 players still to land, as it looks like the circle is, in fact, going to be around Pleasant just up above, so they're going to have to backtrack, try to get over to that area. So this is an interesting circle as well. We haven't seen it end at Pleasant as of yet.
Do we have it? One thing I want to point out really quickly is I know we've been talking about the consistent metas, the massive changes and whatnot. People are saying, is Double Pump still alive? Well, at least not in this series. We can't see AimBotCalvin right now, but we see, at least for Ninja, he's rocking a tack shotgun along with the pump. We have on the bottom for Hysteria, he's rocking the pump/heavy. And for King Richard right now, we're seeing him rock with the pump/tack as well. So I don't know, man. It's definitely, like I said, a week ago, totally different than what we're seeing right now. Heavies probably wouldn't even be a thought as far as the arsenal for either of our players. I would say maybe even 2 weeks ago at this point, with the meta change being that long ago. But still, interesting to see the meta change and how players can obviously react to different things. Got to be very versatile when it comes into Fortnite.
And here we go. Big fight about to break down towards the mid-house of Loot Lake. Ninja puts himself at the bottom of that lake in kind of a bad spot here. Meanwhile, there's some individuals above him. A build fight is going on top of that house. No kills picked up just yet. Ninja is trying to hunt one out. He hears one in that lake. It looks like he gets a good first shot off.
But leaves him alone, actually. No, that player
was down.
That player was already down from Ninja initially. And, watch out. You got the John Wick, but not going to be enough. But Calvin making a great play and still in the kill. This is what we talked about. This is exactly what you need to see, and this is what these players do is, a Ninja may do #all the work, but at the end of the day, AimBotCalvin's going to come in and get the final shot, and that's all that matters.
Indeed. Now, we don't have the kill count on our screen. We can't see how many kills Calvin has, but I've seen him rack up quite a few here. So I think it's a slight lead right now for King Richard and Calvin, because Calvin has really stepped up in this game particularly.
Definitely so, as we see the bounce trap coming out, giving Ninja a little bit of a distance between him and AimBotCalvin to try and push over here on Loot Lake to get out of the way, going towards the circle as it is going to be collapsing down, not at risk to be taken out by the storm just yet, or at least get some damage, but he will be pushing forward to try and find any potential engagements as it's dwindling down. We see 14 now remaining, and not a lot going on just yet, but it's definitely going to be a close one going into to second game. Overall.
It is. And I know our production team is waiting vigorously for that scoreboard to pop up to go calculate the score for us. But game 2 will be a great one. I think it's going to be a pretty close ending here in game 1.
And I think the reason why we're not seeing any two kill high heavy games is based off the storm, right? Or based off the storm's location, the ending zone. Both these teams really haven't made it too far around this area. We talked about they started off kind of around the Pleasant Park area. They kind of make their way a little bit toward their east and Tilted Towers, kind of toward Loot Lake, but they haven't really explored too much of our map. The zone wasn't the major factor. They had to kind of roam across the entire thing, find kills along the way, visit multiple cities. They probably visited 2, 3, 4 locations at the very most. And I think that's the reason why we're seeing such a very slim kind of overall game right now, is based off the Storm's location, which was exactly where they landed off the start.
Ninja's going to be ahead of King Richard there, as he will, in fact, find the first engagements. I want to know who's off to his right, but it doesn't matter as Ninja gets one knock. And can he get the second? Oh. No, he will get knocked down, and that's going to be Hysteria picking it up. So good to have your teammate in your back pocket, and Ninja with the aggression pushing forward once again to try and get this knock too. Will he be able to get it? Yes, he cannot actually, as AimBotCalvin stills it. And this is back and forth action coming between the two now. 8 players total engagements remaining. We'll see how it's going to happen, as we do see Hysteria has broken off. He's going to have a little bit of a lead to try and find those remaining players, exactly what you want to do. And I love the confidence between Ninja and Hysteria. They can break off, and it's totally okay because they have 100% confidence in each other. Hysteria is playing well. He only has 2 kills, but he's got those 2 kills where they mattered.
Yeah, and right there, Ninja using that green AR like it's a gold scarf. He was lasering every single person. Not able to finish all those kills his teammate Hysteria did instead, and now hunting for these last 8 remaining players on the map. Launchpad's going to be placed by Ninja. Hysteria not going to follow up as he's already ahead, and it looks like it's going to be King Richard's going to try and steal that launchpad to get there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So pushing forward is Ninja and Hysteria. And hello, he finds one player below there. Good heads-up play. Must have spotted his head from a distance, and we'll take some shots from the back as Hysteria is going to be pushing up to try and provide some cover, but doesn't need it, as Ninja is just picking off this team left and right with the tacked shotgun in his back pocket, showing, hey, even though they may nerf it, they may nerf the headshot multiplier as well, but it doesn't matter. I'm still going to make it work. Every single time we've watched him play, he's made guns work left and right, whether they've just been buffed, nerfed. He's still going to rock them and still make them a viable option, showing, hey, you know what? If you're good, it doesn't matter what you have. It's not the arrow, it's the Indian.
I think I can honestly watch Ninja pull up the revolver and be like, yeah, that's a pretty sound strategy after just watching how easy he makes every single gun look. Unbelievable player. Of course, we talked about him, like you mentioned earlier, Taylor, with his ability with a multitude of weapons, whether it's the LMG, whether it's the minigun, a lot of outside things that just aren't typical. He obviously makes every weapon shine. But as far as the last remaining couple frags start to come through, I'm taking a look quickly at the top right of our screen. It's going to be King Richard's point of view, getting shot from the backside, needing to find a few of these frags toward the end. 2 players in front of him, has the ability to nearly pick off both. Here comes the first. Steady shots for the second as he knocks down 2 players back to back. Going to grab the loot and solidify these eliminations, is at least as far as things are considered. I want to say that AimBotCalvin has more than King Richard does, so it's going to be pretty close toward the end. But take a look, boys. We talked about Ninja, right? 11 frags. That's very impressive. I'm very curious to see how many that AimBotCalvin does. He has 9.
He has 9.
So
9. So that's 14 on the right. And on the left there, we have 12 plus 3, 15. So a 1-point game between the two, as Ninja for King Richard and AimBotCalvin. And their drop looks like they could be threatening it. Absolutely. Ninja and Hysteria look like they're going to be going to the outskirts once again.
Yeah, very interesting strat here.
This looks like Shifty again.
Yeah.
But it's not
King
Richard and AimBotCalvin
tilted for for Richard and Calvin.
They're going. Looks like they're going Shifty too.
Shifty times 2.
Shifty times 2. We're going to see
wow,
both teams
here
going
we go.
there.
I like
That's
this. I really do.
interesting.
Or no, they switch up to Greasy.
I think Ninja's at least thinking about it, but Hysteria so far in Shifty. I think he was like, "You want to go Greasy?" And Hysteria's like, "I'm already here, bro." And he's like, "Okay, I'll go and here."
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I think this favors Ninja and Hysteria, who, in my opinion, have a better mid and late game. So this is really, they're playing for late game right here, and they're trying to keep up kill for kill with Ninja and Hysteria, which is pretty tough to do given their teamwork.
But I think this, like, while you're in Shifty Shafts right now, I think for AimBotCalvin and King Richard, they're like, hey, this is a race. We're trying to get loot, and we are trying to head toward Tilted as fast as humanly possible. That's what a lot of teams do, right? Shifty, the major portion of this is to go toward Tilted Towers, hang on the outskirts, try to find some kills. Like I said, Tilted Towers, it's surrounded by mountains. There's a reason for that, right? You want to be able to zoom in with your ARs, your snipers, etc., and kind of aim down at the opponents who happen to be in a very risky spot, it's fair to say. So curious to see how fast these rotations get made and who does it first.
Right, absolutely. And I just want to point out to you guys out there, maybe if you're watching, King Richard, you might be questioning, why did he drink that chug jug off the rip? Well, because it takes too much time to drink it. And off the initial start, if you find it, getting that 100 shield right off the bat, especially when you're pushing for these kills, is hugely beneficial. So anytime you get a chug jug in the beginning, sometimes it's better just to drink it off the bat instead of holding it in your possession for future rounds. And as you see, it's paying off. Right now, he would have been less than 50 health, but now he's still sitting pretty at 100 health plus 50 shield. But already, AimBotCalvin is in fact going, or is that Hysteria?
Grab the med kit.
No, it's AimBotCalvin. AimBotCalvin is going to go down.
Oh, down. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, AimBotCalvin goes down, and that is going to be a huge momentum boost for Ninja and Hysteria, as now they are going to be able to push through for the kills here at Shifty Shafts.
And while that loot was on the ground, there was such a huge opportunity where King Richard could have grabbed it, and unfortunately the med kit gets picked up from Ninja. So that's, I believe, unless AimBotCalvin has, some decent, medding opportunities, some shields in his back pocket, he's sitting at 30 at the least for the time being. So it looks like he did rock some bandages, so going to be at 75, I believe, or rocking something along those lines. But, yeah, man, there was an opportunity to grab that med kit, at least to have it in your back pocket.
And
Ninja's there to steal it away.
That chug jug, if you hold that, that'd be a good situation right now for Calvin as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hindsight is 20/20 here, but it's going to be Ninja and Hysteria who pick up 2 kills as a team. I think AimBotCalvin only got 1. I think it was a squad of 3, I believe. If not, it's tied 2-2. We'll keep an eye for that scoreboard and try to keep you guys updated as much as possible. Now we have to. This is where it gets interesting. I think Ninja and Hysteria are great at rotating. Obviously, game 1, we're a little bit critical of their rotations, but we'll see what they do now. Looks like they're leaning over towards Greasy. They want to clean up the kills over at Greasy Grove. You'd expect that to be a little bit filled since the bus went right over it. Meanwhile, you already know where King Richard and AimBotCalvin
you already know.
And this is the totally different play styles, right, when it comes down to these games. I know you've been touching on a lot, Fallout, the passive play at Hysteria and Ninja throughout, or especially Ninja throughout a lot of our Friday Fortnite tournaments, and the speed that we see coming from King Richard and AimBotCalvin a high majority of the time. And this is where we start to see a lot in competitive how these play styles match up against one another. And we'll see how it works out for either of these two squads.
Absolutely so. Is already an engagement happening as King Richard does get a knock. Second one inside of the pawn shop, trying to just pick off the head through the windows, and unfortunately not able to connect enough, but finally does get the elimination. As you see, AimBotCalvin coming in the back to pick up the elimination too. But very curious to see how this split is going to work. Obviously, 2 hotly contested areas. We're seeing now a squad in front of Ninja as they are just running like zombies straight into him as he's just picking them off one by one, and that's not what you want to do. You got to build up, guys, but AimBotCalvin is down once again. So hopefully we'll get onto his perspective and see what's happening here. Is once again, King Richard is going to have to pick him up. Hopefully, AimBotCalvin is and he's gone. He's been thirsted. He's down, and now King Richard in the position to try and keep the team alive to push them forward in this loser bracket.
Ooh, nice knockdown, though. And this is what we talked about. Of course, if you weren't just watching, we did have to go on with a full restart because of Ninja's game, unfortunately, crashing. But this is the exact same scenario right before the restart. We talked about it was King Richard and AimBotCalvin. They were sitting inside Tilted Towers. AimBotCalvin happens to go down, and King Richard can't be there for the res because of how many players are in Tilted Towers at all time. We talked about this strategy, right? Living on the edge, it's a high risk, it's a high reward play. Unfortunately, in this situation, the reward isn't exactly there. While you're finding the kills, they're great. It's necessary. There are still so many players up, and just like that, King Richard falls, and in one pump to the face, as fast as that shot happens, just as fast as this series is going to conclude, as it will be Hysteria and Ninja who are going to move on.
Well, that's going to be it. I mean, we talked about it in the beginning. Ninja and Hysteria. Ninja especially is hungry for a first-place victory. He hasn't had it yet. The closest he's got is second place, but so was King Richard and AimBotCalvin. They performed well, exception throughout our tournaments, and today I have to say was the most solid playing I've ever seen from King Richard, and really showcasing his skills have improved dramatically. great performance from him. Very happy with how he performed overall, as well as AimBotCalvin. But got to tell you, Hysteria, though, is a solid player as well. Really complementing Ninja's play style, too, and kind of one of those underrated players, too, that's pushing up. And he's going to get even bigger and bigger within the competitive scene. But great stuff. 21-20 as you see it, as we know. Couple more kills needed to be done, and that's going to be GG. GG.
And one thing that I noticed as well is that you look at the top left. I know from AimBotCalvin, while he is obviously spectating right now, he is dead. I saw the kind of mics flaring a little bit, which means they're probably communicating to each other, probably saying good game or whatever it may be. Ninja's probably saying, hey, guys, thanks for the restart, et cetera, stuff like that. It's always good to see the, positive kind of reinforcement, the GGs, of course, all around for both of our competitors, because talk about a heck of a tournament. And also, in some cases as well, this is a nice little proving ground for Ninja as well. Hasn't had the greatest of placements in our last few tournaments. Of course, his prior teammate was actually King Richard. And I believe since their kind of breakup, of course, of being a duo in our tournaments, as the nice little snipe comes in there from Ninja, is that King Richard actually won the last duel that he had versus Ninja. So now it's kind of even between those two players as well.
Right.
And like I said, it was at that one point when they were in Shifty Shafts, it was a matter of who's going tilted, who's going toward Greasy Grove. It's another matter of the passive kind of play, the outskirts play kind of working out, similar to our last series that had JMOC.